Hey everybody, I was going to take a moment to go over some ideas. I know in the modern world everything has gone through the roof, and unless you're lucky enough to get a really nice pot with your plant, then more than likely you're getting a little cheap plastic thing it's like cheap plastic. So I was going to give you some alternatives you can use with common day, everyday stuff that you might come across. For one thing, we got one of these plastic cups you can get from a fast food restaurant. Now, this was the golden days because this restaurant, you probably, if you know this cup, you know this cup. This was plastic, and you can make great planters out of this. As always, please make sure you put a hole in the bottom for proper drainage. Drainage makes all the difference in the world. You don't want your water pooling in your cup or planter and causing the plant to have root rot. Nowadays, you may not get the plastic one, but you'll get the styrofoam one. And these styrofoam cups, they're just as sturdy. I mean, I guess you can crush them a lot easier. They don't bend like the plastic ones do. But you poke a hole in the bottom of it, and like I said, these will work great. They insulate heat a little bit, which I don't think it's going to be generating heat anyway. But it's just overall, it's a pretty stiff structure. It's pretty nice. So you can make this into a planter. Another common thing that you might have is a gallon jug. Now, this gallon jug, you're thinking, hey, I throw those things away all the time. What can I use a gallon jug for? Well, after you cut the top off and you give yourself a substantial amount of area, you turn that gallon jug into this. And look at that. I've cut all the out. You poke a hole like somewhere down here, just so proper drainage. And like I said, not only do you have a planter, but you have a handle for your planter. So that even works out better because like I said, that I've had one of these as a planter for one of my plants for years. As long as you keep moisture, if it's outside, it's in the sun, the UV light is getting on it, these things will like fracture it and crack and stuff like that. But you can keep these as a planter inside for years. So that's another idea. Just cut the top off of it. Always be careful because you're going to be using a sharp knife, and that could go bad quick. But another thing you may have, look at this. This is a glass bottle. Now, I had this. I think I got it from, I think it was like one of those bulk places where I bought like giant pickles or something. And this glass bottle, this glass jar was huge, just like a gallon. Now, it might be a little difficult, but you can get like a little tiny drill bit that you can drill with. And if you do it very delicately, you can drill a hole in the bottom of this without actually cracking it to allow drainage. If not, you can put relatively big rocks down here, and because it's glass, you'll be able to see the rocks. Maybe put the rocks up to here. But that's another idea. Plus, it's kind of neat because you can see the soil and maybe see the roots going in there. Sometimes a little critter will get in there, like a little worm or something. That's always kind of neat when they get in there. Or like ladybugs that tend to plague my house all the time. I don't really see them until they come out after they've hatched. And then I've got ladybugs everywhere because of my indoor plants. And here's another thing I made. This right here was a meal replacement little thing, almost like protein powder, but this is like a whole meal replacement. And if you notice, I've already got some soil in it, but if you notice, here's the top right there, and I cut the bottom out. And you might be wondering why I cut the bottom out. Well, it's actually really neat because you have this access right here, and then on the bottom, you have a hole in that, obviously. But if you need to, you can access the roots. You just twist that off and you just access the roots. Or let's just say you're trying to transplant it. So you can actually open the bottom, kind of dig that out, and then you can pull it out a lot easier. Not that you would have too much trouble with that, but you could take that off and you could put that in something else and maybe help it help the roots or something. It's just kind of a neat access thing on the bottom. It may not be that very functional, but I like it. Usually when I have these and I turn them into these, this is what I usually do. I'll cut the bottom out because it's just neat having an option to access the bottom. But I was just going to share that with you, and maybe hopefully you can get inspired and have some plants at your own house. You can put them in anything. That's the great thing about them. All these are food grade. The glass is glass, so you don't really have to worry about that. But there's an idea.